The Thrasher SOTY, or Skater of the Year award, is one of the most subjective, unpredictable, high-profile annual accolades the skateboarding community has argued over since 1990, when Tony Hawk won the first ever award. Not only are the requirements for who wins SOTY a mystery, but even the announcement dates are different every year, at least since 2008. Thanks to the hardworking team at 4Ply, the SOTY announcement date, traced back to 2008, the year Silas Baxter Neal won, can be identified taking place as early as November 21st, to as late as December 16th in 2020 when Mason Silva won. Because of the ambiguity surrounding who should win SOTY and when it will be announced, the annual routine of this award consists of endless debate before, during, and after the winner is chosen. The closest thing to a consistent practice from Thrasher is that they release a roster of finalists for voters to choose from before the final winner is declared. There's no transparency behind the voting system, though, as far as Thrasher showing who gets the most votes, and last year the drama surrounding Nija's collection of historically heavy rail-chomping footage losing to Tyshawn's impressive and raw, but objectively tamer skating, comparatively speaking, strongly suggested the votes are nothing more than an engagement tool for Thrasher to generate buzz. Both Tyshawn and Nija dropped at least one of their several big parts on Thrasher's YouTube channel by either late October or mid-November, and Tyshawn was announced the winner via Thrasher's Instagram on December 8th. Having the most footage uploaded to YouTube isn't the only criteria that goes into winning SOTY, of course, but this year, apart from Yuto's Nike part, his contest circuit success, and Thrasher event participation at the Ripper at Clipper, 26-year-old Australian Santa Cruz Am, now pro, and mechanical engineer Rob Pace appears to be the only other skater, at the time of making this edit, who's gaining the most momentum with a sizable body of big, long rail grinding work, highlighted recently by a My War feature, with Pace picking up where Jack O'Grady left off by hopping not twice, but 3 times on a super long round rail 50-50, as well as being a part of the 2022 AM Scramble, turning pro for Santa Cruz, and snagging a cover on the September 2022 issue. So let's cut to the chase. Is anybody besides Rob Pace or Yuto a clear frontrunner for SOTY 2023? Ultimately, Thrasher will end up making their own decision without explanation, and the next couple weeks could reveal footage that rivals Rob Pace, but in an attempt to simulate a hypothetically objective measurement of who deserves SOTY, the most easily accessible, tangible parameters point to a deep dive on Thrasher's YouTube channel. First of all, one noticeable benchmark that needs to be set is view count. If not enough people see your part, especially older uploads, then it's going to be even harder to justify awarding SOTY to someone whose videos have less than 100,000 views on Thrasher's channel, because that number appears to be a cutoff level for getting enough views to be generating adequate buzz for SOTY status consideration. Second, the content needs to be on Thrasher's channel, so while it's impressive that Yuto's Nike part surpassed 1 million views, it came from the Nike SB channel, not Thrasher's, and this is the Thrasher SOTY, not Nike SOTY. While we're on that topic, this could have been a huge factor in what prevented Nija from blowing Tyshawn away last year as the 2022 SOTY, considering the 2.8 million views on the part titled Need That weren't on Thrasher's channel, but on Nike SB. 69 videos so far have accumulated 100,000 views or more on Thrasher's channel in 2023. 36 of those parts are spotlighted features focused on a single skater, and 28 of those 36 parts are traditional street skate parts. Ryan Sheckler's Lifer part, the video that features a tail drop kickflip ender off the Encinitas City Hall sign, was uploaded to Red Bull's channel, not Thrasher's, but the My War of the bungee pull-in frontside kickflip to ollie back-in combo from the Lifer part is the single most viewed video on Thrasher's channel in 2023 so far, at 816,000 views. If we're talking specifically about standalone parts, Curran Caples has the most views in 2023 for his nearly 9-minute long Vans part at just under 400,000 views. A third aspect to consider is much more subjective, and it has to do with enders. The final clip of a skate part tends to be the most important. For example, Jerry Sue's nollie back heel and Enjoy's Bag of Suck is a classic ender that closed out an entire full-length part. Although ironically, he didn't win SOTY in 2006 when that video dropped, with Daewon's Song winning that year. Enders in general tend to emphasize the most envelope-pushing skating an individual realized in the process of putting together clips for a full part.
Bruh.
Considering the previous two parameters of focusing on videos in 2023 with 100,000 views or more on Thrasher's YouTube channel, Curran Caples, Tom Knox, and Roman Pabich have each closed out videos twice on distinctly different uploads. But there are noticeable differences between these three skaters in terms of the footage. Curran's Vans part and Tom's Dickies part are pretty self-explanatory, as far as them having enders in those parts. But Roman's enders are from Thrasher trip edits, not traditional street parts. Curran and Tom's second quote-unquote enders are from either a trip edit or team video, just like Roman, with Caples closing out the Jamaica Ruka edit and Tom Knox closing the Bangkok Atlantic Drift edit. There's some room to argue that Tom actually has 3 distinct enders, if you count the Welcome to Crooked edit from mid-March, but there's additional skating after his kickflip up to the curb to quick front shove gap, so it's a detail to keep in mind when considering the ender parameters, although having 3 focused videos on yourself, in this case Tom Knox in 1 year with more than 100,000 views, is definitely something not many other skaters can say they've accomplished. The final measurement is by far the most subjective, boiling down to personal opinion, and that is the overall ranking assigned to the enders from each of those parts. 13% of the Thrasher uploads with 100,000 views in 2023 aren't eligible for having an ender ranking because they're either cold calls or out there pieces that don't focus on an ending trick, or in the case of both Kairi Natsuke and Rob Pace, the trick is already featured in a part on Thrasher's channel, namely Kairi's heel flip front board down Hollywood 16 in the 0 part, and Rob's triple transfer front glide on the Santa Cruz edit. 3 different scores are assigned to each ender, based on 1, gnarliness, 2, style, and 3, technical complexity, which are then added up to determine an overall ender score. According to a 2,000 voter poll asking which ender out of 4 specific examples was the gnarliest, 74% voted for Rob Pace's triple transfer grind ender from the Santa Cruz team edit, while 14% voted for Leo Romero's kickflip back 50 ender to the America Skater video, and the remaining 12% was split evenly between Diego Todd's Wally backside 50-50 Vans ender and Emile Laurent's kickflip into bank to ollie gap to hill bomb from the Asics video. The reason these 4 were singled out is because the combination of each ender had a significantly high level of gnarliness, style, and technical complexity. There are other examples of enders this year on Thrasher's channel that rank high in all 3 previously mentioned metrics, including Raimu Sasaki's switch front 270 nose blunt ender at Ripper at Clipper. If we only consider gnarliness, Rob Pace, in my opinion, is at or near the top for his triple hop grind, and is joined by Chris Athens, who tail dropped into a scary hill bomb in Mexico to end the GX1000 video. And while it's not necessarily skating, Chris Russell leaping from what looks like 20 feet into a shallow mud pit at the end of the Swamp Fest video was super gnarly. Style is probably the most subjective measurement in existence. But from my personal perspective, at least on this day that I'm making this edit, Diego Todd barging the scary Wally backside grind down a big hubba in the Vans video is a visually pleasing blend of gnarly and stylishness. Not to mention a little bit of tech with the Wally, and Emile Laurent's Asics ender embodies the same reckless yet well-executed energy as Diego, but maybe not quite as technical. Other stylish frontrunners are Raimu's smooth clipper NBD, of course, Art Cordova's perfect kickflip down 13 in the Geometric All-Stars video, and Ryohei Kitazume's confidently stomped nollie heel ender down a 13 set to close his Lens 3 part. There is a big portion of enders that were done with good style. In fact, there weren't really any enders with bad style, except maybe, in my humble opinion, Jeff Rowley's nose blunt ender into a gray expanse of cement hopelessness didn't quite do it for me personally. As far as technical complexity goes, Simon Zuzik's switch back heel 5-0 front 180 ledge dance was about as tech as you can get, along with Japanese Super Rat's mind-bending line ender from his Lens 3 part. And how could we leave out Jeff DeCesare's triple flip that shut down the Halloween Hellbomb event? Tanner Van Vark's backside Wally fakie 5-0 frontside 180 in Miami to end the real 3 seasons part is another banger that weighs heavily in the tech department. Because the rankings assigned to these enders will vary drastically depending on who ranks them, The subjective aspect of scoring an ender needs to be taken with a grain of salt when arguing who deserves SOTY. Like, maybe Giovanni Viana's Fakey Front 180 Smith deserves to be considered up there as one of the better overall enders on Thrasher's channel this year, but I personally don't resonate with it as much as other crustier, hectic enders. 76% of voters in a poll with 3,100 participants said that the heaviness of your footage is the most heavily considered factor when determining who should win Thrasher's SOTY. And while heaviness is a subjective term, it's important to differentiate that the qualitative aspects of the footage is deemed more important than the quantity. At the same time, should one single ender be enough to solidify your status as SOTY? Rob Pace's Santa Cruz ender is a doozy, but it's not even close to the only achievements he's been spotlighted for by Thrasher, including being a part of the AM Scramble, turning pro, and the overall beastliness of his footage in 2023, not to mention having a cover not so long ago. The only criticism I'd have to say about Rob Pace's ender, in particular, is that, to the best of my knowledge at least, the baton was passed to him by fellow countryman Jack O'Grady, who did the rail-to-rail grind more than 2.5 years ago. It's just that Pace added an extra hop. So to say that Rob revolutionized the way skaters navigate rails would be a disservice to Mr. O'Grady. It's very likely that by the time this video goes live, some other footage has already come out that threatens to overtake Rob's currently overwhelming frontrunner status, but until that time, Pace is winning the SOTY race. One thing I didn't touch on at all was the music, which does contribute to the overall impression of a skater's footage. While I don't necessarily have a particular favorite in terms of music selection, the worst soundtrack I came across was when feeling physical ear pain during Laser Crawford's front board 18-rail ender in the Bones, Saguaros, and Swelbos video. His name might be Laser, but paying the rights for a cheaply produced hip-hop song just to have actual laser sound effects accompany the skater with the same name was both a corny idea and a bad financial decision. Personally, I really enjoyed the EC Melody video's overall production in Break Your Legs, including the artistic film work, music, and overall gritty yet inviting East Coast ambience. And I couldn't help but respectfully chuckle at the admirable efforts put forth by Lucas Bin in his zero-make part full of overly ambitious, out-of-skill range attempts to land anything. And in a weird, twisted way, having a part that has no makes in it at all is more revolutionary than what Rob Pace did on the rail.